my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more
There's
times.
5 blokes outside my front door. Can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.
So this week I'm delighted to be joined by former world champion Darren Barker. I didn't have to give you any money to come on this pod. It's amazing.
No. I'm quite accessible when I'm at these shows. I've got nothing else to do, so yeah, you got off scot-free.
No worries. I'll buy you dinner. First of all, how are you in life in general? Good? The kids good?
I'm good, mate. I'm very lucky. I've got 2 of the kids here. You've just seen them, I think. Yeah, you have just seen them. Got 4 kids. I'm not getting punched in the face anymore. I've sat ringside, living the dream. So yeah, I'm counting my blessings.
Brilliant. I wanted to speak to you and get you on this podcast because the people that we had so far, I've not had the perspective of life from a person that's not an active fighter anymore, or isn't. Your activeness in boxing is now kind of around the punditry and the commentary, etc. So it's interesting for someone who's out the game in that way. You are retired. Make sure you are retired.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I know you've teased in the past for a few clickbait headlines. You have.
No, people started forgetting who I was. People actually didn't know who I was. So. But no, I'm definitely retired, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Okay, I'm going to start you in really easy. What were your first ever memories of boxing as a whole?
My dad. Straight away, the first thing that comes to mind is my dad won the ABAs in 1980, and the ABA trophy then was beautiful, big cup, big silver cup, and if it wasn't for my mum, my dad wouldn't have had it out. My dad's so modest, completely opposite to me, and it was in a cabinet. Well, back then it wasn't. It was on the shelf, and my mum used to polish it and always keep it silver because it goes this horrible sort of colour if you don't clean it. So my mum, bless her, she'd always clean it, and that was my early memories. And then it was my dad being on his knees and sparring with my dad. And since that moment, probably it must have been, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. I wanted to make my dad proud, and I felt the way to do that was to box, and that's my earliest memories, really, just sparring with my dad in the kitchen and that ABA trophy. It's really sad because my nan and granddad's house got burgled when I was really young, and the prick who burgled the house nicked all the old tapes of my dad. So I've only ever seen my dad box once when he won the ABAs, but there was loads out there, but some prick nicked them all. So I'm gutted about that.
That prick's watching the Raw, the Fight Within podcast.
Give them back.
Available on all platforms. Fucking give them back, basically.
Yeah, give them back. I want to watch them.
Do you remember the first fight you ever went to? Like, whether amateur or pro, do you remember the first fight of note that you went to?
I do. And so I'm from a family of sort of jibbers and blaggers, and we used to bunk in. It used to be my dad, my uncle, and my granddad. And my brother used to come as well now and again, Lee, the one younger than me. Just younger than me. And we used to bunk into all the shows. And the first one I remember going to was, I'm pretty sure it was Nigel Benn versus Nicky Piper at the Ali Pally. Bunked in. It was so funny. Like my granddad, all the scheming. I used to love it. I used to love... they used to go, Dad, go on, you run in and we'll run in after you, and things like that. Or my granddad would get a score and put it through the gap of the fire exit and hope that someone would open the fire. It was brilliant. It was just such a buzz to me. And yeah, I honestly, I fell in love with boxing. I really did.
Do you know, it's funny you mentioned that because Junaid Boston was talking today about when he was going with Kell Brook about sneaking into ringside and all that. And it's, but I suppose... I'm not saying it's acceptable. We're not condoning this kind of behaviour, but listen, I suppose everyone's done it at some point.
Look, we didn't have no money to buy tickets. Do you know what I mean, or anything like that? And obviously, been at the Repton as well. They're just the king blaggers. Everyone's jibbing in. at York Hall. I've not. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I've never ever paid to go to a show in York Hall. Anyway, you go around the swimming pool for the change room, bang, and you get it. See, that's free. I'll give you that one for free. So yeah, we're not condoning it, but it was just what you did back then, and I loved it.
What was the first fighter that you kind of fell in love with, but you took notice of? There's always one for everyone that kind of almost got them into the sport. Who was that for you?
Mike Tyson's quite easy. That was. I was just in awe of his, and you got to remember at the time. So I started year 7, 11, 12 in 1993. So Tyson had already happened. So I'm watching old fights of him, but I was just in awe of this person who scared the shit out of everybody. He scared me. I used to just imagine myself having to fight him, being a heavyweight fight. I'd be like, no way. Just what? I was in awe, like not in awe. I was in awe of him, but I was amazed by his upbringing and where he was from and how hard he was. And if I'm in all honesty, I always looked at him as someone that you had to be like to be a world champion. You had to be fearless. You had to be brave, courageous. You had to, I didn't really delve too much into the psychological side of things of trying to scare my opponents, but I always felt that you had to have that presence. You had to have that self-belief, and he certainly was someone that I wouldn't say I looked up to, but I watched and thought, wow, I want to be able to compete the way he did.
Do you know what? Funny you should mention that, because even today we're seeing it on kind of all these viral videos that go on about Mike Tyson at whatever age he's at. I remember about 3 years ago, he was walking down the corridor after a fight. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was one of Tyson Fury's fights with Wilder. And he was coming, and in my head, like one part of me was going, try and get an interview with him, just asking for a reaction. But I know what he's like in them kind of situations. And then the other one is telling me just get a photograph. Yeah. So I decided just to go up to him and just say, Mike, can I get a quick picture of you? And he thought about it for 4 seconds. But them 4 seconds were the fucking longest 4 seconds ever. Yeah. And I was like, have I offended this man? Have I offended this man? And he was like, come here. Like, I'm not impersonating you, Mike, by the way, if you're watching this podcast. But then got the photo. But I was glad, because then 4 seconds told me that he wasn't going to do an interview. I just knew.
But I've got a funny story as well about Tyson. When he was in London fighting Julius Francis, my dad said to me, he's staying on Park Lane, the Grosvenor House. He's going to be running around Hyde Park. If we get outside the entrance, we might catch him going for a run. We might meet Mike Tyson. So we got up like silly o'clock in the morning, about 6 o'clock or something, and headed down to Park Lane. And then when we got there, someone come out. It weren't the crocodile, that old street. It weren't him, who we ended up meeting him later on in the day. But he said, if you're here for Mike Tyson, you've missed him. He's been and gone. He's back. But if you come back at such and such time, I think about lunchtime, they've been picking a few people out of the crowd to go and watch him train. So we went home, come back up, crocodile comes out, and he picks a few of us out. He picked me, my brother, my 2 brothers, and my mate. They wouldn't let my dad in. So my dad waited outside. He goes, go on, you go in. So we went into one of the conference rooms where they set up this gym in the Grosvenor House, and that crocodile saying, when you go in there, don't talk to Mike till after, don't take any photographs, don't do this, don't do that. Like he was a caged animal. Like, don't do this, don't do that. So when we got into the conference room, they lined up loads of chairs right by the ring. So all of a sudden, Mike Tyson bowls in. And I'm like, this is my idol. This is the person that I can't stop watching. I'm kind of in awe of. So I've gone straight over to him. I've gone to my brother. Quick, come here. So he's walked past me, Mike Tyson. And I've gone, Mike, can I have a photo? Can I have a photo? And he pushed me and went, sit down. And I just I fell into the chair. Right, the funniest thing is, right, we've absolutely shat ourselves then, right? My brother, after being pushed by Mike Tyson, he just sat me down. So at the end of the session, we got to watch him spar, and that was mental, by the way, because he chinned the geezer when the end of the round sounded. The blokes, it was the last round, the blokes turned round, and Tyson's gone back over to him, gone, bosh, like chinned him, and his legs went. So I've gone over to Mike at the end, and they said, come over. I went, can I have a photograph? And it was them old disposable cameras.
yeah.
My brother, because he was so scared of setting him off, took the flash off, and because it was dark in there, you couldn't see us. You could not see it. It's just a blank. It's just a blank.
What a fail.
What a fail, yeah. But, you know, I'd met him, but I haven't got the photo. So, yeah, it was incredible. But if anything, that made me like him more. I was like, he's like that in real life, you know what I mean?
How mental is it, though? Your brother's that scared of Mike Tyson where you don't want to anger him with a flash of a disposable camera. It's mental.
Took the flash off, yeah. But, yeah, that was my meeting with Tyson.
Right, a bit of a fantasy question. Needs a little bit of thought. So if I was to say Darren Barker's Fight Club, so again, every week I just make up the rules to this. So imagine you in a tag team of 5-on-5 in the ring, right? Who do you pick, Darren Barker, alongside 4 others for the ring?
To fight?
To fight. They don't have to be...
present.
Doesn't matter past, present, boxers. They ain't got to be boxers, actually. They could be in a different sport. They could be whoever, fantasy characters. It doesn't matter. In the ring rules, though.
In the ring rules. Queensberry rules?
Yes.
Okay, but then I'll stick with boxers. I'll go Mike Tyson, first off. Oh, it's a good one. I mean, you've got to go heavyweights, really. I mean, not necessarily. But like, imagine having little Inoue buzzing around the ring, just sparking people. All right, I want to go Inoue. I'm going to go just... do you know what I'm going to go? Roberto Duran, hands of stone. I'm going to stick him in because he's an right hard bastard, isn't he? Do I even have to be in this? Can I just...
No, you have to definitely be in it.
All right, 2 more.
One more.
Oh,
So you got
I'm
you.
one of the 5.
Yes.
I'm one of the 5. Oh, one more. Do you know, I was going to go with Sugar Ray Robinson, the greatest of all time, just because I'd love to have met him and, you know, have him there. But how confident and secure would you feel having Vitaly Klitschko next year?
All right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think they're 4 beasts.
Okay, so you, Vitaly Klitschko, Mike Tyson, Inoue. This is how it would be. Go on.
It would be me at the back. I'd have Tyson and Vitaly
You
Klitschko.
shitbag.
Me at the back. Vitaly and Tyson in front of me, right, as my backup. And then Inoue just buzzing around, sparking everyone.
Where's Duran?
Oh, Duran's up top as well. He's up top with Inoue just chinning people, yeah.
Love it. Right, okay, the flip to this now. Same concept, but on the street. So street rules apply. No weapons or anything like that. And by the way, we're not promoting street violence. It's just a fantasy question. Okay. But for street rules, who goes on a street team?
Mike Tyson, again.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson straight in there. 4, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to put... like someone like George St. Pierre or someone some nutter who's just gonna get you in turn you into a pretzel. Again, oh no! I was gonna go for Vitaly Klitschko again, but I won't. I've got a couple of mates who could probably get into this. Maybe the Big Show. I mean, you're not budging him. You're not. But imagine if he chins you, he gets full weight into the Big Show. And Eddie Hearn.
What the fuck would you put Hearn in there for a street fight?
Just to see how he approaches it. And I'd put him in front of me as well. Go on then.
Oh, that's brilliant. Because Fabio Wardley put Kimbo Slice in there. Oh. And I think he put Bruce Lee in there as well.
That's a good... Bruce Lee's a good... And I mean, they're 2 ledge picks.
Yeah. Definitely, but Eddie Hearn's probably the best comment I've had from there, just to see what he would do, basically. Okay. Have you ever thought about this? This is a better way of asking this question, to be honest. If you weren't in boxing as an industry, which means you wouldn't have been a fighter and I know your family's been kind of centred around boxing throughout the whole of the Barker life, but if you wasn't doing boxing, do you ever think about what you could be doing or what you may have been doing?
I think I would have been in the trades probably. My dad's a decorator. My granddad was a builder. My uncle's a builder, plasterer. My brother-in-law is a sparky. My brother is a gardener, a jack of all trades. Actually, can do anything. So probably I would have done something like that. I don't have the brains to have been a pilot or anything like that. But it is an hard question because it has been my life for so long. But I'd like to think, though I may not be the brightest out there, I'm very hardworking. So I think I would have excelled in some sort of manual labour. What I think Tony Sims will always, I think he'll back me up. I trained my nuts off. Probably why I suffered with so many injuries later on in my career, because I really did leave it. I really worked hard. Though I might not ever be able to fly a plane, you put 10,000 bricks over there and say you've got to move them over there, I'll move them. And I'll probably beat everyone at it. That was the mindset I had. I was really competitive with myself. I drove myself mad. That's why I never understood people. I'm going off on one a little bit here. Cool. I never understood why, I enjoy boxing. I love boxing, but I never enjoyed training. And I always felt to myself, they can't have the same mentality as me. They can't, because there's no way you could enjoy what I was doing. I enjoyed boxing. I enjoyed the buzz. I enjoyed fighting. But training, if you had my mentality that you got to train, you got the mentality that your opponent is training harder than you. You've got to train harder than them. If you think like that, you can never train hard enough. And yeah, I used to, I think I commit to anything I do. So yeah, I probably would have got stuck into some sort of manual labour. I think that's sort of what my family know.
It's mad because when I look at you now, and I think manual labour, because you look like someone that wouldn't be too keen on doing manual labour, but you're talking about maybe, I don't know, if you're thinking of a time period, maybe 20 years ago, I don't know, yeah, or even longer.
Yeah, probably. 20 years ago, it was like Commonwealth Games. So it was in the balance, didn't know if I would ever turn professional or make any money out of boxing, really. So I probably was heading down that road, which, by the way, I'm so proud of my family for how hard they work and what they've done to provide for us and give us the life they have, and I would have done the same for my kids.
Do you remember the last time that you felt that you were losing, like a fighting battle, something that, I don't know, you've been a fighter all your life, not just in the ring in terms of like you as a person, but did you ever feel like you were kind of fighting like a battle that you were losing?
Yeah, numerous times. Oh, bless you. Someone's sneezing. You hear that? Yeah, numerous times. Again, when my brother died, just struggling. It was the first time I lost anyone in my family, and to now I've only lost my granddad recently. So I'm not good with. Nobody's good when they're grieving, but I just, for the life of me, couldn't understand how I was going to live without my brother. I just didn't, and that was a real uphill battle for me. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? How am my family going to? What are we going to do? So that was one. And boxing itself, funnily enough, with the injuries that I was going through, the mental battles that I was going through with the grief, would I ever get there? Would I do it and my life become dedicated to winning every title I could for my brother? That's why I done this. There was a love-hate relationship with boxing. I boxed with my brother and I couldn't do it with him anymore. So I decided to do it for him, and it became very, very hard. And at times, the question that you said, did you ever feel like you was losing an uphill battle? I did, because I was falling to pieces because of the way I trained, what I'd done to my body, and I just felt, am I ever going to get here? Physically and mentally, I'm broken, but thankfully I did.
What causes do you believe are worth fighting for? Like, everyone's always got something, whether it's something they've been through or someone else has been through, that you believe, that Darren Barker believe are worth fighting for. Like, a lot of people.
Do you know, in all fairness, Coog, I don't think it matters what your reason is to want to fight. I think sometimes money isn't enough. It wasn't my driving force. I think pride and honour are very valuable and they're worth fighting for. But delving into boxing and what it means to somebody, it doesn't really matter. I think, like I say, if even if money is your thing, you know, everyone's hungry for whatever it is. Success. Before my brother passed away and I was dedicating everything to him, I just love winning. Cool. That's all I want to do. I love that feeling of beating somebody, and nothing filled that feeling like boxing. Nothing come close. I could play football with my mates, which I love and I still do, but winning a game of football, even a serious game of football, does never compare to my first amateur fight or my second amateur fight. Like, the feeling is unmatched. But whatever it is that makes you want to win, that's your thing. It doesn't matter. But I do see a lot of fighters out there who I think they think they're saying the right thing, but I don't know how much they want it. You've got to really want it in boxing. You've got to want it so bad, because the next man does, the next person does, the man in front of you does, and if you can't match him for ambition, work ethic and desire, then you will come unstuck. We've seen it time and time again.
What are the everyday battles for you now in life? What are you pinpointing in your brain as, like, whether it's more mentally, I suppose the question's aimed at, for you as a retired fighter? What are the everyday battles for you?
Get me going now. Living without my brother and my granddad, you know, there will always life will never be as good without them. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. You know, it really is. I wish my kids knew them, you know, better. You know, my kids who I've got here, Scarlett and Charlie, they knew my granddad really well, but they didn't know my brother. Everyone does, but I really struggle with grief. Like, I just want that I want the people around me that I've always had around me. The thought of losing people scares the life out of me, and that's going to be the hardest thing for me moving forward, is just living without these people that were invaluable to me. But I've got kids of my own now. I've got to hold it together. I've got to be there for them. So important, because my brother and my granddad would be, you know, mortified if they knew I wasn't fulfilling my potential. And by me fulfilling my potential means that everyone around me is going to be better off. So yeah, that's what's going to be hard.
I know people talk about time being like a healer, that kind of cliche saying, but it does seem with you that doesn't really kind of apply, that this will, until while you're on this earth, that this will always be something. Like I said, I'm obviously aware of your brother, and you told us about your granddad here, but it feels like with what you're talking about, this kind of carries you while you're on this earth.
Yep. Time's a great, it's healer. You learn how to deal with it, is what I've found, but I think every day sometimes it gets harder, because your time's passing, and you start, you know, I can't even bring myself to say it, but you know, it just, it's just hard. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Do you know what I mean? You got to push on. Life is really hard. Life is hard, but it's so beautiful. It's so amazing when you strip back all the bullshit of all the fucking idiots out there ruling the world, all the fucking assholes who are ruining stuff. When you strip it all back and you get down to the basics, what really matters in life, is so beautiful. Love, your family. Just I try my best to stay present every day and take in how wonderful the world can be, because there is a lot of beauty in this world. But it's easy to get distracted by the fucking arseholes out there.
Talk to me about a time that you felt that you were fighting back tears, and this isn't this is applicable to this interview or before this. When was the time that you felt that you were, because as a man yourself and a proud man, family man, a fighting man as well, it's like showing your emotions sometimes. I've spoke to people on this podcast where it's kind of deemed as weak, etc. And we're trying to get away from that stigma of that being deemed as that, because it's what causes other problems. But for yourself, when did you kind of find yourself kind of fighting back tears?
I'm fucking going to proper go here, but it was recently. It was at my granddad's funeral, because I'll never ever forget my granddad saying to my dad, when my brother died, my dad spoke at the funeral, and I'll never forget my granddad saying to me how proud he was of my dad for holding it together and speaking. So I wanted to talk at my granddad's funeral. I wanted to make my granddad proud. I wanted to make my dad proud. So I wanted to talk at the funeral, and it was I wrote something down, and I was so nervous. Because I'm a very emotional person. I do get upset. I've watched Armageddon 13 times. I've cried 13 times. Armageddon, do you know what I mean? So it was important to me that I got up in front of everybody and I held it together. And I kid you not, I got back and I sat down on the second row and I broke down, crying my eyes out. I was so proud of myself. I was so proud that I was able to do it. My granddad was everything to me, everything to me. When you say your granddad, people think, oh, he's this old man. My granddad was still working. It come as a shock to us. He wasn't an old man. He was a young man. He was 17 when he married my nan. He was 17 when my dad was born. So they were young. I was the eldest. My dad was the eldest. So, yeah. Not to get, it's probably supposed to be a bit of a fun podcast. No,
this is meant to be. This podcast is called The Fight Within. It's meant to be about you as the person, as opposed to the fighter. That the normal cliche things. I can predict the interviews you've done today already without you even telling me what you spoke about. Do you know what I mean? So this isn't the purpose of this. The purpose of this was to talk to you as a person. Okay.
Well, look, yeah. For me recently, I just wanted to bring that up because, I'm not really proud of myself. Really, I look back. I'm proud that I was able to do what I've done in boxing. But that reigns up there. It's probably, other than being a parent, having 4 amazing, beautiful kids that are they're my legacy, not boxing. But that moment where I was able to hold it together for my granddad means a lot to me.
Do you know what? That's one of the best things I've ever heard you say, actually. And I know it's like a normal thing, but the fact that you said that comment you just made is that your kids are your legacy and not the boxing. That's
without a shadow of doubt. Like families, it's first and foremost for all of the Barkers. We're so close, and I've always wanted to be a great dad, like my granddad was, my dad was. So for me to be a dad, and I like to think I'm a good dad. My life evolves around them. So boxing is a distant. I don't even have a second. Being a dad is, as you know yourself now, it's the greatest achievement. That's my legacy. That's my wealth. My wealth. They're 2 kids, 2 doors down, and my 2 kids at home. They're my wealth.
Yeah, and I think as much as, like I said, you said, obviously I only become a dad 18 months ago, and it's something that people always talk about, kind of their kids, and I get the concept and I get it, but until you have your own kids and you're kind of in that situation, it's very difficult. But it was for someone like yourself who's accomplished so much in the ring that loads of people don't accomplish in British boxing, but for you just to use that word legacy, but use that in relation to your kids, it was a nice thing. That's what I was making a point of.
Thank you very much, and I mean it. That is my legacy.
Okay. Do you feel like every achievement you've had in your life, and again, this isn't centered around boxing as much, but just everything you've achieved, do you think everything has come with a fight? Is there anything you've done that hasn't come without a fight?
Not really. not really everything, but that makes the winning, the success that much greater. Putting in the work. It's. I was never, you know. My dad worked so hard. I mean, my dad was a hog carrier. He used to graft. Like, honestly, I'm so proud of my dad and my granddad. I hope they know how much I'm proud of them. They work so hard, and they've given us everything they possibly could. And it's that process, that hardship, that makes the mini victories even that much better. And there's been a lot. There's been a lot of hardship, I guess, but most of it, because my whole life has been boxing, it's very hard to answer that question and it not be boxing orientated. My pro career was such a slog, so a lot of the hardship has been boxing orientated.
Where does your fighting spirit as a person come from? Where does that stem from?
My dad. Oh, actually, that's very harsh to just single out my dad there. My mum as well. My mum is she's a closet competitive person. You wouldn't really think if you see my mum. She's so lovely. She's the most wonderful person on the face of this earth. Like your typical mum, she's amazing. She puts herself second in every single situation. She's always there doing everything for everybody else, but there's this bit of fire in her that she wants to be the best. And my dad's the same. My dad is so competitive. They both are. They're so competitive. My dad doesn't want to lose at anything. He's the hardest working man I've ever met. They both are, and I get that from both of them. I am the luckiest man in the world to have such amazing parents that have instilled this twisted, fucked up mentality into me. But without that fucked up, twisted mentality, I wouldn't have gone on to have done what I've done, because it's so easy to wave the white flag and say enough's enough. And there was plenty of times that I could have done that, but their DNA is in me and they kept me going.
Fucking making me emotional now. Do you feel that, or do you feel rather that you've got demons to fight, or you're fighting demons every day?
Yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't? But I try my best to, I wouldn't quite say embrace them. And a lot of mine evolve around grief as well, losing these invaluable people in my life. Genuinely, I'm the happiest man in the world because I've got everything I need and have ever wanted. My life's very, very good. But look, people go to the gym every single day to work out. This is the most important muscle or organ that needs to be worked on. And I try my best to... I read a book when I read a book when my brother died. I was given to it by this absolute legend of a man called Bruce Lloyd, who helped me an awful lot in helping me deal with grief. And there's a book called The Power of Now. It's about staying present. And there's a bit of a tool that I learned, and it's watching the thinker. And I don't want to go too deep here, but it's basically when you have these negative, bad thoughts, this repetition of, this cycle of self-doubt or whatever it might be, sort of step back in your own mind and watch the thinker. And at that moment, there's this moment of clarity, bliss, and a real sense of consciousness where you're in control, you're present, you're here, you're now. And it's a tool that I have to fall back on now and again. But I just embrace the negative thoughts and I watch them and go about my day. Generally, you see me around here, very rarely do I get in a bit of a downer. And I think I've learned a lot of self-coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Like whatever they might be. So, you know, it's taken a lot of work, and it's taken a lot of bad things to happen to me, but I've got there in the end, mate.
Darren, you fight for your kids, your family, your mum, your dad, everyone. People at Barnet. I know you're like international now anyway. But you fight for everyone, but who fights for you? And I don't mean it in a boxing sense. I mean, like, who's there for you behind? You know, when you've gone through these moments and kind of, some people like to be left on their own. Like me, myself, when I'm going through something, I just want everyone to fucking leave me alone. But I know that if I had to, there are people that I can turn to and that are in my corner in life. Who's that for you?
I kid you not, mate, and I'm not just saying this to not leave anybody out, but I'm so lucky. I've got so many people I can call upon if I need to, and I've got so many people looking out for me, and that stems right through my family, to my beautiful wife, to my friends. I'm so lucky. They've all got my back. They all look out for me. You know, my dad, my family, why these losses in my family have been so significant and so hurtful is because we worry. We're there for each other. You know, my dad would do anything for me. I'd do anything for my dad. My brother would do anything for me. My mum would do anything. My nan, my auntie, my uncle, my sister, my everyone, my brother-in-law. We've got each other's back. And you know, if I sneeze, right? If I'm with my dad and I sneeze, my dad would go, "You right there? You're right. You're right. Go and sit down. You're right, mate." Like they worry, but they've got my back. They've got my back. My friends, I've got so many good friends. More than, you know, I'm so lucky. People I can call on. I've got so many, you know, like, not even to name drop now, but I can't tell you what a great man Joe Calzaghe is. Joe's got my back. I've got Joe's back. Like, what a man he is. Like, I'm so lucky. Like, honestly, God has just blessed me with so many fantastic people. Like, I am truly blessed, and I'm very lucky. And I don't know if anyone will watch this. I value each and every one of their love and support.
What are you most scared of as you get to, I don't know, what, you're 45 now? Sorry.
I'm 5 years younger than you.
At 40 years old, what frightens you now as you kind of, I'm not going to call you middle-aged, because if you're middle-aged, that means I'm middle-aged. So just say we live to 100. So, for example, what scares you for the rest of your life today?
Easy. And I don't want to, I feel like I've really lowered the tone of this podcast, and I apologise to listeners. But
don't apologise.
It's death. It's not me dying, it's people around me dying. That's the easiest question of the thing. I'm petrified of losing my family. I love them so much. They are, you know, that's the easiest question to ask me.
Final one for you. What drives that fight within you? What is it in you as a person that drives that fight?
I don't want to be this bell, do you know what I mean?
No, be the bell, please.
I don't know, like, but I've never really thought about it, but I guess being the best you can be. Like I said, I've got this competitive nature within me that I get from my mum and my dad, and it's about being as good as I can, and that doesn't mean being the best at boxing. I want to be the best husband. I want to be the best dad. I just want to be as good as I can be. I want to fulfill my potential, in which, may I add, still, I won't say concerns me, but I still don't know what my calling is now. I'm very happy, but I feel there's more. I've got more to give aside from my responsibilities as a family man, a parent, etc. What is that next thing? And I just want to be as good as I can in whatever that my next calling is. Whatever the next thing is I've got to do, I just want to be the best. I just want to be as good as I can, so I can lay down one day, thankfully have a nice blissful death at 100, and I can say, do you know what? I've done all right, didn't I?
I'll take 100 now, wouldn't you?
There's no chance in a million years I will live to 100. Never.
All right, don't need to end it on that.
I'd
love the thought of me living to 100. I know my great-great-grand... No, hold on, let me just work this out. My dad's granddad, is that my great-great-granddad, lived to 109. That's a true fact.
Yeah,
109.
I bet he didn't...
Careful what you... Careful what you say on this
Well, no, you can
podcast.
edit this anyway.
I'm not going to edit nothing. I'm not allowed to.
All right. I bet he didn't drink 5 bottles of vodka a week and smoke 100 Hamlets a day.
The smoking, I've got a problem with, but yeah. I have a lemonade every now and again. All right, let's just leave it there. I have a lemonade every now and again, but no, I don't know. Actually, I'm curious to know. I speak to my dad, but it's my dad's granddad, so it would be my great. Yeah, 109. But anyway, it's about you. You said you don't see yourself living past 100.
I won't, mate. I've enjoyed myself. Put it that way.
Okay, well, Darren, listen, I appreciate your time, and yeah, listen, I've known you for so long. I've known you for since we started doing IFL fucking 11 years ago or whatever, but we've not really spoke like this on camera. Obviously we speak.
Who do you talk to us about? Honestly, I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session. I'm not joking, because I think it's sometimes important to talk like this, honestly and open. We all put up a front. You've said it there, and sometimes whether it's putting a camera in front of me and having you sat there asking me these questions, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. You put a kettle don't let off steam, it'll blow up, won't it? So it's nice to sometimes talk like this. And you don't get the opportunity to do it sometimes. So I'm sorry that you've had to sit down and witness this therapy session.
Or listen to it as well. Yeah. But yeah, no, because every time I do speak to you, and like I said, it's been consistent over, managed to black a job in boxing after you retired 7 years ago, whatever it was. But everything's kind of, you can predict. I keep saying this to a few people, but you can predict what I'm going to ask you, etc. And even when you were fighting and when we was in Stuttgart and all these kind of places. But me and you don't really get the chance to sit and talk about stuff which is relevant. Like every question I ask you in boxing, this is the lead up. What we've been talking today is the lead up of why that's happening, if that makes sense.
Yep. And, I appreciate your friendship as well, mate. It's nice to see familiar faces, isn't it, on fight week? And, yeah, you don't expect to have these sort of conversations with the likes of you. But I'm
going to take that as a backhanded compliment, maybe, Mr. Barker.
It is a compliment. You are the life and soul of the party. You don't expect to have deep, in-depth conversations with. I didn't expect to have any conversation with anyone like this in this, but this sort of environment. But we have, yeah, it's a mad old game, innit, life.
Life is a mad old game, and I think, like I said to you, if you want to do something and you're not hurting anyone, fucking do it.
Agreed. Life's too short.
Absolutely. Darren, appreciate your time, and thank you for listening. Viewers, listeners to the Raw Fight Within podcast with Darren Barker and me, KUGAN CASSIUS. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more
There's 5
times.
blokes outside my front door. You coming out?
One hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.